For decades, people in the UK have imagined retirement as a time of rest, the reward after a lifetime of work. A time to finally travel, relax, and spend quality moments with family. But that dream is starting to fade for millions. The idea of retiring at 65, mortgage-free and comfortable, is slipping further out of reach. Today, we're diving into what many are calling the UK retirement crisis, the harsh new reality facing UK workers, and what it means for the future. Let's start with the numbers, because they tell a powerful story. According to recent reports, around 1 in 5 Britons approaching retirement have little to no savings at all. The average pension pot for workers in their 50s and 60s is around £107,000. That might sound decent, but when you break it down, that amount would give you less than £6,000 a year in retirement income, nowhere near enough to live comfortably, especially with rising costs. And speaking of rising costs, that's another major factor. The cost of living crisis hasn't just affected young families or first-time buyers, it's hitting older generations too. Energy bills, food prices, rent, and healthcare have all increased dramatically. Inflation means that what used to be enough for a modest retirement 10 years ago barely stretches today. People are finding that their savings and pensions are being eroded faster than they ever imagined. So, what's going wrong? Why are so many hard-working people finding themselves unprepared for retirement, despite decades in the workforce? Well, one big reason is the shift away from traditional defined benefit pensions. In the past, many employers offered pension schemes that guaranteed a fixed income for life after retirement. These were the so-called gold-plated pensions, reliable, predictable, and often quite generous. But over the last 2 decades, most of these schemes have disappeared, replaced by defined contribution pensions. That means workers now shoulder the investment risk themselves. Your retirement income depends on how your investments perform, and if the markets go down, so does your future. Add to that the growing trend of insecure work, short-term contracts, gig jobs, and freelance positions, and you start to see the problem. Fewer people are in stable, long-term employment with regular pension contributions. For younger generations, especially millennials and Gen Z, the situation looks even worse. Many simply don't earn enough to contribute meaningfully to a pension after paying rent, bills, and student loans. The result? A growing number of people may never be able to afford to retire at all. Now, let's talk about the state pension, the cornerstone of retirement for millions in the UK. The full new state pension is currently around £221 per week, or about £11,500 a year. For some, that's the only income they'll have in retirement. But can you really live on that, especially in cities like London or Manchester, where rents and living costs are sky high? Most experts say no. And while the government has maintained the triple lock, meaning the state pension rises each year by inflation, wage growth, or 2.5%, whichever is higher, there's growing concern that it's becoming unsustainable. With an aging population, fewer working-age people are paying in, while more retirees are drawing benefits for longer than ever before. It's a demographic time bomb. The UK population over 65 is projected to rise by nearly 30% in the next 2 decades. That means more pressure on pensions, healthcare, and social care systems already stretched to the limit. The question is, who's going to pay for it all? Because of this, the government has already started increasing the state pension age. Not too long ago, it was 60 for women and 65 for men. Now, it's 66 for everyone, and it's set to rise to 67 by 2028, with discussions already underway about pushing it even higher in the future. That means many people will be forced to work longer, even if their health or circumstances make that difficult. In fact, nearly half of workers over 55 say they don't believe they'll be able to retire at the traditional age. And for those already in retirement, life isn't exactly easy either. The number of older people living in poverty has risen sharply in recent years. Many retirees are skipping meals, turning off heating, or even going back to work part-time just to make ends meet. Imagine spending 40 years in the workforce, only to find yourself struggling to afford basic necessities. That's the harsh reality facing thousands right now. So, what does this all mean for the next generation? For people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, retirement feels like a distant dream, almost an illusion. Younger workers are dealing with stagnant wages, high rents, unaffordable housing, and unstable employment. When you're barely scraping by each month, saving for a future that's decades away doesn't seem possible. Many believe they'll be working well into their 70s or even 80s, not because they want to, but because they'll have no choice. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are solutions if action is taken soon. Experts say the first step is education. Financial literacy in the UK is alarmingly low. Many people don't fully understand how pensions work, how much they need to save, or what their options are. Schools and workplaces could play a huge role in teaching the basics of retirement planning early on, so that people can make informed choices. Another crucial factor is improving access to affordable housing. For previous generations, paying off a mortgage before retirement meant you could live rent-free later in life. But today, record house prices and long-term renting mean more people will enter retirement still paying rent or even mortgages. That's a financial burden that makes a comfortable retirement almost impossible. Policies that support affordable housing and fair rents could make a massive difference in the long run. Employers also have a responsibility. Automatic enrollment in workplace pensions was a good start, but contribution rates are still too low. The minimum combined rate of 8% isn't nearly enough for a decent retirement. Increasing contributions gradually, while ensuring that workers aren't financially penalized in the short term, could help close the gap. Then there's the question of flexibility. Retirement doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing event anymore. Some experts suggest encouraging phased retirement, allowing older workers to reduce hours gradually while still earning and contributing to their pensions. This can ease the financial transition and help people stay active longer, without burning out. Technology could also play a role. Fintech platforms and pension dashboards can help people track their multiple pension pots, estimate their retirement income, and plan better. For many, the biggest issue isn't unwillingness to save, it's confusion and lack of visibility. Making retirement planning simpler and more transparent could be a game changer. Still, the truth is that without bold policy changes and personal responsibility, the UK faces a growing retirement crisis. A future where millions of older citizens struggle in poverty isn't just an economic issue, it's a moral one. It challenges our sense of fairness, our social contract, and our responsibility to one another. Retirement should be a time of dignity, not desperation. But if current trends continue, that promise will remain out of reach for many. The question is, are we willing to face this reality and act before it's too late? The UK's retirement crisis isn't just about pensions or money, it's about people's lives, dreams, and security. The choices made today, by individuals, employers, and government, will determine whether future generations can look forward to retirement or fear it. So maybe the real question isn't when will you retire? But will you be able to? Because for millions of UK workers right now, the answer is far from certain.